Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Michi's Esport Diaries, and happy Friday to all of you. Hope you guys are doing fine, had a great week and now going to enjoy the weekend. So it is time to recap actually on 2 weeks since last weekend. I missed out on doing an esports diary because of the well-known time issue. So extremely busy past week behind us, so the week before that week that is about to end. We're going to quickly recap on it. So especially Monday, Tuesday was just practicing, was just getting ready for things. On Tuesday on the Traction GG stream we ran for the GTR 24, the 12 hours of Monza, a little bit of long runs there. And even though we have finished the stream usually like 10:30 p.m, we went out on track again, not with a DPI around Monza, but this time with a Formula Pro car for the VCOEsports, the ERL, the Esports Racing League, around Zandvoort. We were working a little bit on the starts, working a little bit on the driving, Jene and me, for the upcoming ERL Round 2 on rFactor 2 at Zandvoort. With a Formula Pro car there on Wednesday, we had this massive event, and it was a real success for us this time. Getting through in a 1-2 out of Heat 3, getting through the quarterfinals, being actually out of the competition in the semi-finals, but then due to lucky events that happened on the track, we got back into business and got back into the winning lane kind of, and actually finished in P2 as a team, which brought us then into the final against Team Redline. And well, against Team Redline we had no chance whatsoever. You know, Zandvoort extremely difficult for overtaking anyway. And then qualifying would have been extremely important, and our qualifying we started 3rd and 4th, we stayed there, no position changes in that race anyway, in that race 1. Then we had race 2, I think we jumped our teammate Kazuki, but apart from that no further position changes in race 2 either, neither from Team Redline nor from ourselves. And yeah, that left us with a 2-0 in the finals. But yeah, again, it was P2 out of I don't know, what was it, 8 and 9. That makes it 25 teams that have competed. That P2 is extremely vulnerable, not vulnerable, valuable. It is extremely important. Because there was the event on ACC 3 weeks ago. Last week there was rFactor 2. Next week there's going to be iRacing, and after that you're going to top up the totals and go into the Assetto Corsa Competizione, a season final, so the Masters, so to say. And they give a little bit more prize money. I think they still give the same points. Need to reread the rulebook, I'm afraid. And after a not so good result in ACC, but a really extremely good result in rFactor 2, I think it's now sufficient if we have a kind of solid result in iRacing, and we need one in order to stay into the top 10, not get into the relegation, or the top 12, not to get into relegation, to stay on the Esports Racing League. And yeah, then I think next time it is the rFactor 2 Summer Cup, which means the Masters are happening on rFactor 2, so it will be even more important to be at the top of the tops right there for this opportunity then. Anyway, we're extremely proud on our result, P2. On that evening, of course, it still felt like a defeat against Team Redline, but the more and more you're looking on that result sheet, you're seeing yourself in P2, and you have Veloce behind, you have Williams behind, BS Plus behind, Unicorns of Love behind, that have dominated ACC. You have so many teams behind you that have really strong lineups in general. So it was quite an achievement in the end, and that is what, yeah, makes us happy on the result, and that is what counts in the end. And yeah, makes us proud and gave us a good feeling. That was Wednesday. Then Thursday we had GPVWC, our first appearance in that league since 3 years, and our first appearance in the season since we've missed the first race due to the corona infection. And oh my god, the qualifying. I cannot remember a single qualifying session where I have failed continuously in multiple tries in the manner that I just did. It was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous. Out of a 15-minute session, I had 5 attempts, and that means that you seriously screwed up a lot, because if you did do 3 good attempts, then that is the session done. No further time for attempts, since you have to come back to pit road after your fastest lap to be allowed to go out for another one. So it came down to the very, very, very last lap, and despite GPVWC has 30 people on the grid and so on, it has quite some competitiveness in qualifying. Means the top 18 or the top 20, can't remember. I think it was top 20. They were separated by just 5/10. So if you don't perform, you're going to start further down the back. And I think I made a pretty good and solid last attempt. Yes, after failing 4 times before, I have just put everything on the card, more or less, and we qualified in P12. And I gotta say, in a perfect circumstance, in a perfect world, in a perfect qualifying session, I guess I would have been able to put the car into 8th, maybe 7th. Not sure if I could have put it higher up, but yeah. Being 12th was kinda okay, since it was like, whew, Michi, what the hell have you done? And on the other hand, there was this this happiness that the lap has been good enough still for putting us P12, giving us the possibility of having a different strategy and an alternate strategy going on. Well, we went with an alternate strategy in the race and said, like, okay, this is P12, we have an advantage now, and 12 laps into the race we found out that this advantage was completely gone because of my mismanagement with the tires. Which leads me to another thing, like, yeah, traditionally I've not been known for being a good tire saver, but I have also I'm also not known for completely killing them. However, I completely killed them within 12, 13, 14 laps trying to follow the soft runners, but I really failed to put in the performance and to put in the safe and smooth sailing. Beyond that, we had this incident in lap 1, turn 4, where I was coming down the inside. I already thought, yeah, I'm quite up the inside, quite conservatively, quite safe in the approach to turn 4. Then some driver decided to just dive it up the inside from 1.5 car lengths back, and he has done it really on the very most inside that you can be on the corner. Like, I think his tires have touched the white line that is, yeah, defining the track limit. So when braking, I had to brake hard. I was braking a little bit off guard to the car ahead, so it was a little bit sideways to have at least half of the front wing being fully flown over with air, to not have any dirty air and downforce loss. But then the other guy just dived it. I had to alter the steering, give a little bit more room, because he was coming like a torpedo. So I went to the outside, well, a bit more to the outside, still middle. Then obviously I ran out of the extra downforce that I was expecting. Slightly, really ever so slightly, ran into the back of Liam the Wall, who then further spun to the inside. But no matter if I would have touched the car ahead or not, I think Canapino on the inside that dive, he would have absolutely T-boned him anyway. And well, that led to a 3-car pile-up, which I was somehow lucky to escape. yeah, the front splitter was broken, and I'm not too sure if that broken front splitter somehow affected the performance of the car for the remaining 56 laps then. Either way, we've eaten up tyres too fast. We had to go on a very conservative two-stop strategy, which it was conservative whilst not being conservative at all, because I was really close on being too hard on these tyres again, which is something to look forward for the next race, to somehow fix it, hopefully around Melbourne. So we see how that will go. And yeah, I mean, you can really divide up those 3 stints that I did into clear capitals and into clear chapters of the race. There was the first stint, which was survival, which was trying to hang on, which was killing the tires, which was not feeling comfortable at all. Then being forced to do a pit stop that early that I didn't want to do it actually. And then I think, what did we do? We did medium hard, didn't we? And the plan at some point was, I think, doing medium hard as a one-stop man. And in the end, I couldn't even run with a soft or another medium. No, I just had to go with a hard again because of the tyres. And then we went into the second stint, which I think, and I like to add learning big time into the first stint's chapter. Then the second stint came, which was kind of starting to feel comfortable, kind of getting into the groove, kind of starting to understand what was going on. And then the last stint, I think that has been pretty strong. Good moves where it was necessary, no moves where it was stupid. Good energy management, not so good tire management still. But I really pushed hard. And out of 11th or 12th that we were after the last pit stop, we made it up still into P7 and so close even to P6. So yeah, obviously P7 is not really the kind of result that I'm competing for or that I'm aiming for. But considering all circumstances, qualifying in P12, then having the issue with the tires, kind of really lacking the experience of these tires because I haven't driven them the last 3 years, and I heard that they're pretty similar to last couple of years. You know, considering all these circumstances, I think I can be pretty okay and pretty happy with this P7. P6 would have been absolutely lovely, and I think would have been the maximum anyway on that day. Which we just missed out by 2/10, but oh well. So yeah, a little bit of a mixed feeling, I'd say, coming from that race on Thursday, to then go into the qualifying for the GTR 24 on Friday in the DPI. It was a difficult one. I think Q1 went to plan, apart from some incident we had with the GT3, which was a bit of a pity because I was coming purple in S1 like 40 or 30 minutes to go in the session, and I really was on a flyer, so it was like, please, that GT3 needs to get out of the way. And I went pretty aggressively for a move into turn 4, into that second chicane. And yeah, unfortunately we made up contact. He completely died, I completely spun. Later then found out that he was on a purple lap as well, so I apologized to them. Yeah, yet though we got a penalty for that incident, which meant 5 seconds added to our lap time from that Q1 session, which we've won by, I don't know, 4/10 or so. Then Yene went out on track in the Q2. First of all, I struggled damn much in that Q2 to get the lap time in. I could just not do it. And then Yene took over and he was thrown off the server, and then actually we got disqualified because, yeah, if you leave the server during the qualifying going on, your race is done, or better say qualifying is done. So we had an okayish lap from Q2, we had a very good lap with a 5-second penalty from Q1, and if you combine that in average, it was P5 on the grid, at least staying clear of the LMP2s, but still, yeah, missing out on pole position for the 12 hours of Monza on the next day. And that race went pretty okay, pretty straightforward. I think whatever we've done on that car, we are lacking something in that DPI around Monza. I cannot imagine it being elsewise. We were so dominant around Suzuka, maybe too dominant as, or more dominant as the actual forces would suggest. Speaking of, Moratness probably being 6 laps behind us is too much of what their actual skill is. However, it took us nearly 2 hours to get into the lead, and then it took us another 6 or 7 hours to extend the gap for another 40 or 50 seconds. In the end, we have won the race without being threatened too much, but you know, I think we had 30 or 40 seconds in the end of a gap to P2, and that pretty much means if you do a drive-through penalty, if you have an incident, that pretty much takes the win away from you. And after being so strong and dominant in Suzuka, this felt like a little bit of a setback, despite it was still arguably a great P1, and also the sister car has had pole position and took P1 in the 12 hours of Monza in the LMP2 category. So that was great. Yeah, but you know, if you're leading the first race by 6 hours within 7 or 8 hours from green flag, and then there is race 2 where you're struggling so hard and you're basically off sync with a pit stop of the P2 car and you're not quite sure whether you are even ahead of them right now, then it is a bit too close for your liking, isn't it? And yeah, that is a bit what has happened in that GTR 24 12 hours of Monza. Yet though, everything went well in the end. And then we had the final race activity on that weekend in the iRacing Grand Prix Tour in the Mercedes around Zolder, and there was a big story behind that. So there were actually 2 races. I wanted to just do one race, which was the race on Sunday morning, to then have, you know, easy F1 watching and have a evening off and just shake off the dust that has settled over the weekend, because it was not over the weekend, over the entire week, because it was a really stressful event in that regard, or a really stressful week. Yeah, but then the first race, it went horrendous. The qualifying wasn't really good, wasn't really bad either. P4 in the grid was nothing too bad. But then the start happened. Or was it P2? I can't remember. It was actually P2, I believe. Was it P4? It was P4. And then the start happened. My clutch didn't work, so I only had half of the clutch, which meant if I put in first and go on throttle, the car will move. So I would have either jumped from neutral into first, which gives that big of a shock to the drivetrain on the Mercedes that you get instant wheel spin, so that wasn't an opportunity either. So I decided to really just put in first, keep the brake, and get slowly on the gas, and let the manual clutch, or let the auto clutch of the game do the job. And what shall I say? My getaway has been good for that circumstance, but it has been bad overall. And yeah, that led to another guy washing out on the front, running into our rear end on lap 1, damaging that front wing. So we had to switch from a 1-stop to a 2-stop already. Boxed in quite early, that got us back on the grid. Then we had a moment with a back marker that was just driving so erratically. Another time front wing damage, another time into the pits. Then we were on a really good progress, we were still looking good for P5. And then we had 2 other incidents, one of them being completely caused by myself. We had a spin in the beginning of the race too, which got us further down the back than we wanted. And I don't know, I think I have done 6 pit stops in that race. 6. Maybe even 7. Can't remember. It was too much though. It was absolutely too much. We finished that race even with an incident in the last lap, which I'd like to a little bit apologize for the overreaction on that end. Just blaming the back marker. Yes, I went wide on my own, but I was intimidated by that back marker, which is why I blamed him initially. And I still blame him today to a certain extent, not solidly, but I give him the blame for what actually happened in that final turn, because I would have not outbroke myself. The thing is, you know, with those back markers, he broke so early, he was so erratic into so many corners that I didn't focus on my own braking points rather than trying to estimate his braking, not running into his back and so on. And that, yeah, I messed it up completely then. I broke earlier, but broke not hard enough, then suddenly locking up, going straight, and I lost that ridiculous 13th place by, I think, half a tenth. So not much. It was a side-by-side photo finish on the line, but it was furious, even though, because 14th has just been another position too worse. Yeah. Long story short, I decided to redo the race in the evening in the top split with the big guys. Jarl Tyen was on it, Marcel Fassbender has been in it, Brendan Powell, who has joined our practice streams here and there, was with us. And everything that I did wrong in the race before, like damaging my front wing on that stupid curb, turn 5-6 chicane on Solder. Disclaimer, Solder is a shit track for F1 car racing. So all those mistakes that I did in the first race, I managed to not do them in the second. We did our one-stop strategy. We kept the front wing clear. We kept it fine. Jarl Tyen has been the quickest car all day. Fassbender would have been faster than me, and there was another guy behind Fassbender, a name that I can't recall and neither be able to spell. But those two guys behind me, I managed to start at second and stay ahead of them in the start. Those both cars would have been quicker though than me and would have been bottom of bolts for the entire race, I'm pretty sure. But then luckily, them both damaged their front wing on that turn 5 chicane, which gave me a 5-6 second advantage on the pit stop anyway, besides them obviously using up or being slower in the first place, giving me more room to breathe, more chances to save tires and so on. Jarl Tyen actually damaged his front wing twice, got it replaced twice too. Yet still with a surely 40-second disadvantage, he still overtook us with 3 or 4 laps to go from the lead. Now Jarl Tyen is a pro WC level driver on iRacing, and I do not doubt his class, or I do not say this win wasn't deserved for him any single second. The win and victory in that race by him was still a class on its own, absolutely deserved. He made his life harder than he necessarily had to do, but and under no circumstances whatsoever I would have had a chance to stand his pace and to stay in front. So absolute kudos to Jarl. Apart from the 2 mistakes with the curb, ballistic drive. Really well done. But at the end of the day, we have a P1 from split 2 and we have a P2 from split 1. Which puts us, I think, 4th or 5th in the championship overall, which is extremely good. It's extremely unexpected. And, well, I'm trying to keep focusing on getting the good results in. Next week on Phillip Islands is the next race, parallel to the Melbourne F1 Grand Prix. So, mark that down in your calendar already. Beyond that, there was something else I wanted to mention. Yes. iRacing blue flags. I'm not sure if it's the back markers or it's a thing on iRacing to continuously ignore the blue flags. I got, like, when you're in the lead, you got people chasing you down, and then you got the P14 car ahead of you, really just not giving way for over a lap and a half with the blue flags. Like, in R Factor 2, you get a penalty, a drive-through penalty given by the game if you don't move over in time. To do it with the iRacing style, I would appreciate if people will get 4x if they don't move out of the way within 3, 4, 5 corners. Like, iRacing can count corners because that's how their safety rating has been calculated. And you could hand out 2x, 4x for an infringement with a blue flag. So iRacing devs, there is something to think about that. I would absolutely appreciate, because I cannot understand why competitors in a competitive race, when leaders are coming down, or P2 or 3 or 4, or anyone fighting for position is coming down on you, and you're a lap off, why you just don't move out of the way. You can do it on a longer straight to minimize the time loss, fine. But if you keep blocking, if you keep like costing the other car seconds, that is not what I accept as a racer. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I need to kind of accept that. Anyway, that is the recap for the past week. Not too much going on this week, as there was a little bit of FSR preparation. We've run a little bad race on the competition system with the IndyCar, trying to defend that IndyCar Open Challenge badge. So gonna put that in. I'm gonna put that story in as an ending result. So we got IndyCar Open Challenge Series winner of the first quarter of 2022. I'm not sure if it still counts the first quarter right now, the series that's going on. But of course I want to try to defend that series win. Having to do all races, obviously 6 races on it, on the competition system on R Factor 2. And I really like the badge of the competition system, which you can see here. You know, stating as P1 first winner in that IndyCar Open Challenge. And, you know, it's just a little bit of a gimmick, as much as I'd like to go after a trophy for a race of the season. Did I capture the race of the season last time? No, I'm gonna put race of the season and the IndyCar into the next episode on next week then. Trying to make up for that. Also next week on Tuesday, we're gonna talk about the R Factor 2 competition system, the survey that we did. And yeah, we're gonna see how we can make this R Factor 2 simulation kinda being great again. Because that R Factor 2 competition system needs work, it needs improvement, and it needs new features to come up with. And we hope that we are able to give Studio 397 and Motorsport Games a little bit of a hint of what it is, what is the community wishes on that matter. And then we will see what this will be all about. For this weekend, we got Formula Sim Racing on Sunday, 20:30 Central European Time. We will be live with round 3 at Matsusaka. Not too much expectations. There is rain forecasted, so it's a potential wet race. And other than that, you know, I've just done a little bit of practice. Don't expect any winning pace from me. Don't expect any top 3 pace from me, I guess. We're going to score some points. Top 5 should be doable, should be the overall target for me for the remainder of the season. I will give up on that championship fight. I don't know what is the exact gap right now, but I think I have roughly 35 or 40 points gap to the leaders. Not that it would not be doable to make up for it, but in all honesty, it's just that the point system isn't going to support it. And beyond that, I do not have the desire anymore to give it everything, let's say. So guys, that's gonna do it for this one. That's gonna do it for this episode of Michi's Esport Diary. I hope you guys have a nice weekend altogether. I hope you have pleasant people around you, and join us on Sunday evening for the FSR race, guys. See you there. Goodbye.